but some of us probably are subscribed to Disney Plus, which brings me to my story. I'm looking at shares at Disney. They're pretty flat today following a downgrade earlier this morning from KeyBanc Capital. Now, KeyBanc downgraded the stock, citing 5 areas of concern, and I want to focus in on one of those, being ESPN. KeyBanc saying that it's going to be materially harder for Disney to convert ESPN to a fully over-the-top streaming service because not a lot of people are going to want to pay the high price for that subscription. KeyBanc saying that they did a survey for consumer interest. About 25% said that they would not be willing to pay at all for a pure sports streaming service. 46% said they would be willing to pay $10 or less a month, and then only 26% would pay $20 or more. But here's a problem here, guys, is that Disney allocates about 30% of its $30 billion budget to sports. So KeyBanc said that they really need to break even with 25 million subscribers at $33 a month. And given that data, that ARPU number doesn't really seem likely.
Here's the thing. I think people can't really get there when they're doing that survey right now because their favorite team isn't behind a paywall. If you get to a point where ESPN actually put all of live sports behind a paywall, like there's a lot of people. I think there might be 25 million people that would pay $30 for that. If they have every NBA game, they have a lot of NBA games. I mean, Turner Broadcasting has them too, but they have a lot of NBA games. They have some NBA playoff games. People are going to pay for that. They have the NHL. People are going to pay for that. Now, of course, Disney is paying a lot of money for those deals, but I think if you start putting real live sports that people actually watch, not ESPN3, a college football team that I might watch, but I watch a lot of college football. When you start putting really popular things behind the paywall, I think sentiment would change.
Well, and also just take a step back, and you're a massive sports fan, how expensive it could potentially be to be a sports fan, right? Because if you're paying, if it ends up being $30 a month here for ESPN, for that streaming service, and you're also paying for Prime because you want to see the Thursday night football games, and you're also paying for Apple because they have baseball and soccer, it's going to start adding up. So I think that is a barrier here for ESPN to be able to charge $30. Maybe they could get away with $20, and then they would be able to significantly increase their subscriber numbers, given the fact that maybe it's not going to be available on cable. But I think that this is just interesting in terms of what the roadmap looks like for Disney ahead, because it really complicates what exactly Iger has said. And he has said that he does see ESPN turning to fully accessible on streaming, but how they get there in a profitable way that makes sense given all the costs that they're putting into this really complicates all that math.
And it should have something to do with contracts too, right? Because I'd imagine a lot of the contracts would currently have to change because right now I don't think they can put some of that stuff on streaming, so then it would take a couple years before we even kind of get to this point. But it is a good point of like, who creates the bundle again? You kind of just want a sports bundle again, right?
Yeah,
realistically.
I think of how much YouTube TV costs, and I know YouTube TV, it's sort of a cable replacement. It doesn't just have sports. I watch Bravo on YouTube TV, so I don't have it solely for sports. I share it with my family. I know my brothers use it primarily for sports. They charge a little less than $75 a month. So maybe you could argue that $30 isn't that bad for consumers if you have the majority of sports in that one service. I think eventually people are going to want to just go to one place to watch all their sports. How we get there, when we get there, I'm not sure. Clearly right now it's very fragmented, but eventually I think we're going to see a lot of consolidation.
Should create cable networks.
Yeah, right? This is where we're going back to the cable bundles.
I've never had one of those. That'd be cool.
I do. I mean, you pay a heck of a lot, and then add on all those streaming services.
Services.
You're
That's the
paying
problem.
way too much. It's way beyond our budget.